All right, gang, hang on. Let's just get the recording going and we will get after it here.
Recording in progress.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We are here tonight at the Profitable Real Estate Agent Plan. And this is week number 2 in this latest round of teaching you the wireframe to become a profitable agent and run a profitable business. Again, if it's the first time you're coming here or you need a reorientation, the purpose of this course is to share with all of you from whatever place you come to us tonight, whether you're internally at the Realty Classroom, my coaching company, the Griffin Brokerage, or you're just out there in the public and you saw us in an email blast or on our YouTube channel, wherever you might be, you're all welcome. And the exciting thing about being able to do a course like this at this point, my coaching and my brokerage career, is that I'm a firm believer that everything that I'm teaching you has a universal base to it that can be applied immediately to you if you're a brand new agent, you've never sold a home, or you're one of my coaching clients and their entire massive business. I mean, I have a couple of people, $4 or $5 million business machines. It's all the same fundamentals. And these are the things that I wish somebody had taught me early on in my career so that I could be more strategic. Because when you are more strategic, you are growing a management brain to run a business that's structured. I'm thinking about all of the words and the way that my coaching clients describe it. And a lot of my coaching clients are already top producers. They do really well, but they're completely unorganized. They're completely unstructured. And so what they do is they sell properties on muscle every day. They do a lot of it, but it's exhausting. It's hard for me to watch them knowing that I was like that too. And so the idea of this course is to give you the basics and the fundamentals to stop you from thinking that you can do that and then actually call it a business. It's not that. So this is business training. And all of the fundamentals in this business training come from a lot of universal bodies of works, not the least of which is Michael Gerber's book, The Entrepreneurial Myth, which is probably one of the fundamental foundational ways that we got strategic. You can see this, you probably see this while I'm holding this up in the camera right now. I don't have Michael Gerber's structure far from me. It's within arm's reach to remind me that the first thing I'm supposed to do every day is think strategically and manage my business actively. I think one of my coaching clients was stunned to really hear me say that these days, I actually truly spend more time working on my business than I do in it. And what that means is I'm usually working on the structure with my mastermind group. Tomorrow's our mastermind. We'll go into our mind maps and we will micromanage it. And we will really think about the process and all of that versus me going to show a property, going to list a property, going to run my open houses. All of that has become very organized so that it's time managed into small spots where as part of my sales machine, okay, I don't like the word team. It conjures up a lot of weird anecdotes about what a team is and isn't. When you have people helping you, they all should be playing these micro roles that lead up to more sales being done. In that way of doing things, I am nothing more than the outside sales agent. But clearly every day I am the manager and the creator of the systematic process that all of those people adhere to. So whether it is somebody sitting in the Philippines that's taking my leads and cleansing them and organizing them so that we make sure it's avatar. And we'll talk about avatar next week too. Really meaning ideal. We don't just call anybody and everybody. We're after listings that are at or above the median price in the geography within which we want to go to. And we're trying to prospect people that have a real why and a high motivation on a scale of 1 to 10, period. You see how quickly I can say that? Because everything in my brain now is structured against a system. We don't wing anything, okay? This isn't necessarily a course about tactics, but I share some of the tactics that I use, sure. But this is about having you understand that our business works like an assembly line where you are manufacturing, hopefully, what's called a happy pass client. right? That's what you're trying to manufacture. So in the front end of your business comes the raw materials, and out the back end becomes a happy past client. We call them happy Griffins, who are likely to repeat and refer, which becomes the accelerant for your business, right? So that's really what we're saying is, okay, we want this assembly line process to be very clear to you, right? And so that you don't complicate this business. And I think that's what's really important to understand. I don't want you to think of this business as complicated. It's not. And in Michael Gerber's book, he asks a really good question. How does the business really work? Not the way we perceive it to work. And again, take it from somebody who's doing it every day and wants to do it with the most efficiency and teaching it and needing to be effective as a teacher, a trainer, a coach to all of these people. I don't want complicated, because that's exactly what happens, is that especially top producers, their brain will shut off very quickly and they'll just go back to defaulting to selling if you don't teach them how to be strategic in a simple way. So this is a strategy course. But like I said, for all of you, especially that come here live each week, I cheat into some tactical things. And at the end of the quote unquote lecture of the week, I will coach you. If you have a question about anything in this business, I will coach you and show you how I relate it to the wireframe that makes up this course. Okay. Now, as we start to try to figure out the best way to deliver this product to you, we do have the Profitable Agent Plan page on Facebook. I'm presuming if you're in here live, you probably know that, unless you're invited in. If not, on Facebook, you can look for the Profitable Real Estate Agent page, and you can go in, and I will invite you in there. In there, there are a lot of recordings from the past, because it used to be easy that when I did a Zoom, I could syndicate very easy to a group. But Facebook, in their infinite wisdom or whatever their problem was, they shut the ability down to do that easily. So instead, I'm shooting it over to YouTube. So the recordings go live through StreamYard into my YouTube channel. So you can look for the Realty Classroom on YouTube. You can subscribe there. I'm organizing the playlist. I'm going to put it in plain face. It's not there right now as a playlist, so I need another day to do that. But I'm going to just put this right there so that you can week by week go back and listen to this. Again, I'm doing my best to record the slides, and I have to apologize in advance if you hear the little tickle cough. I am at the tail end of a bout of COVID, but I'm still here, and I have not missed a class. Okay, so off we go. We're going to start here, and again, remember, I have all your mics muted until the end. If you're not comfortable asking a question out loud, I would suggest that you send it in the chat. Okay. You can send it in the Zoom chat. That's where I'll be. I think also I'll see on StreamYard too. If you're on the YouTube channel for some reason watching it live there, even though I say some reason because it's early on where we started broadcast there, you can send a comment there at the live video too. And if one of you that is a ringer for me, part of the Griffin, want to go over and check the YouTube channel for the Realty Classroom, you can see if this is broadcasting live, and we can make sure that everything's working technically. But tonight is phase 2. And just as a reminder, last week we got into your self-image. Okay. That's what we looked for. So we really focused on your self-image as a profitable real estate agent. I know it sounds a little hokey if you've never worked on the head stuff as a business person before, but I am telling you, as a doer of this and as a coach of this, I wished I had taken the time to develop the image of me as a profitable real estate agent chasing median or above listings, median or above price listings in the geography within which I really wanted and preferred to do business versus trying to go out and do everything. That is the core fundamental concept to being profitable. The more revenue you can get per deal, the more likely you are to bring a lot of that to the bottom line versus being really in a tight spot. Especially top producers get sucked into this. Transactions, and never really thinking, am I getting listings that will build my business in the long run, and much better than just a buyer side business off the internet? And are those listings as profitable as I could be? Now, again, my charge to you is to remember from the self-image standpoint, anybody can do this. Don't listen to me tonight and explain this away and say, oh, but it's you because you have all this expertise. we regularly teach this to the team members that are, when I say team members, part of the Griffin agency. Sitting right behind me, usually in this desk back here is Annabelle Pereira, 23 years old. She's done about 5 sides as she apprenticed for us, for my client care manager, Laura. And those sides are $1 million. The current one under agreement is 1.7, 23 years old, doing it part-time while she finished her master's in social media marketing and runs a blog as a business, right? So don't explain this away as something that doesn't relate to you. This relates to everybody. It's the way the business works, and we continue on that discovery and we share it with you, okay? So once you have that image, now what we need is a North Star. So this week is about goal setting and simple ones, okay? So let's get into that now. I'm going to start the slideshow. If for some reason when I say click, if somebody wants to speak up, if they don't see this, then I will, I'll come back around here, okay? So I should be rocking and rolling here. All right. So the question begs is, why are you doing this as it relates to financially, right? So there's a lot of you that are doing this financially as a part-time gig, especially if you're early on. One of the things we say to all the Griffin agents when we're recruiting them, do not quit your day job. This is a part-time business opportunity to grow a business. It just doesn't happen quickly unless you have incredible amounts of savings, or you're in a financial situation where there's somebody else at home that's encouraging you to do this because they have income coming in. If you have a financial situation that makes it viable, wonderful. But of course, I would hope that all of you could see yourself endeavoring to make this a predictable and sustainable source of income. That's the ultimate goal. And even if it is part-time, I want it to be the best profitable part-time business that you could ever imagine, so that you really have that financial freedom. I mean, we know a lot of people that do it part-time, that are moms, that are trying to save money for college as part of that household income, and take it from a guy who's raising 5 kids, 2 of which are still in college. It ain't cheap, right? So there are a lot of reasons why somebody would want to do this, but before we start talking about what you walk away with, we need a North Star for your gross commission income. And I'm not talking about what you get after splits with your brokerage. I'm talking about just the top line. Because presumably, if you have made a decision to join a brokerage, you have presumably made an exchange of value. So for example, at Griffin, our whole concept is training, coaching, and mentoring. And that's what we bring to bear to our agents. So they know exactly what we're going to train them on, how we're going to coach them, and that we will be there in the heat of the moment to mentor them through a moment, right? So we set all of that parameter, but there's a cost to that, right? Obviously, there's an association. So no matter what brokerage you're at, that's what you're asking yourself. What am I getting for what I'm spending? And that's the first cost of goods sold, but we want to go above that. Okay. What we want to do is be above that. So we'll get into that here, right? So setting goals, by the way, is an essential part of building a successful and sustainable real estate business, just like I said. So we're going to use this worksheet to understand how goal setting works. And then we're going to identify specific financial goals for you. And I promise you, I will give you the cheat sheet in the back, a peeksy look into how we do it. So how we do it for our Griffin agents and how we do it for my private clients. I'm going to show you the simple goal setting spreadsheet that's easy enough to copy and understand, so that from the beginning, the North Star is set. But then along the pathway, as we do deals, we can see whether that is on target or off target. And that's what helps you begin to manage. So setting that goal is critical, because you don't know where you're at unless that North Star is out in the sky, right? Okay, so let's talk about goal setting. I've done a lot of reading over the years about this, and especially I'll get into a little. Brian Tracy, I probably would say, is the one that I have seen his work the most, or paid attention to his work the most. And Brian is an old man now, but Brian for years has written about goals. And I remember him, having a little anecdote about Harvard Business School running a test and like saying to their graduates, hey, how many of you have written goals, right? And the people, then they went back 10 years later, and the people that had written goals were something like 10 times more financially successful. So it's a staggering concept that the more clear we are about where we're going, we can really, and we talked about this last week in the self-image and how the mind works, we're programming the subconscious mind with this meaningful specific. And you're going to hear me talk about that, right? So goal setting activates the brain's reward system and motivates action. So of course, if you can see a gross commission goal, you can begin to sense that that's where the profit is going to come from. So something clicks on, right? That reward system clicks on and says, as we move towards that, we're going to have this little drip, right, in our brain that's going to motivate action. So when I see it, I can move to it. So think about the difference in that Harvard Business School study. If I can't see a goal, I can't start moving to it. But if I can see it, that's where the action comes. So it's a motivator to take action steps. And that's where a lot of people get paralyzed and they're not taking any action steps because they're not shooting for anything. They're sort of looking around and all nervous about what do I do next, right? And I get that. As a coach, I get that there's this paralytic moment where if you don't have a goal and a way to achieve that goal, you're lost, okay? And again, whole purpose of this course. So the brain is actually wired to focus on specific and measurable goals, making it easier to prioritize and achieve them. So I'll never forget the great Zig Ziglar. If you want to Google Zig Ziglar and you want to go on YouTube and you want to look for him talking about meaningful specifics, I'll never forget it in what was the old Boston Garden. I went to see him speak. Everybody was flooding this place for one of these success tours back in the day when they used to run these live tours. And so Zig came out there and I'd always wanted to hear him. I'd heard his tapes. I owned back in the day when everything was on cassette tapes. I had them. And I'll never forget him saying, why not be a meaningful specific, right? Why not be a meaningful specific instead of a wandering generality? And that's precisely what goal setting's essence is all about. If you are wandering around generally in this business, hoping that somehow you're going to do transactions, you're missing the opportunity to be a meaningful specific headed towards this number with a meaningful systematic approach to do that. It's just, there's no comparison. So the how-to, this becomes a how-to. The how-to stop wandering is stop saying things very nebulously and being very specific, right? I'll get into it here, but I'll cheat the code a little bit now. Don't tell me you want to gross $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. Why? Your brain knows you're sort of half-assing that, right? It knows that that's a patronizing number. Why? Because it's so round. It's a round number, right? I mean, sometimes we get round number commissions and whatnot, but a lot of the times when you're really setting a financial goal, you're paying some expenses and whatnot, and things start to get chunked down into not so round numbers. So it strikes me that you should pick a number that's meaningfully specific versus that round. So if you want to do get a part-time job, a business going, and it's 30,000, make it 31,563, right? That's what the brain is craving, because all of a sudden you throw your brain and your subconscious driver, you throw it off a little bit and it awakens. That's what it means to really have that reward system awaken. Ooh, that's interesting, says the subconscious brain. How are we going to do that? And that's the coolest thing about goal setting. You really don't need to know, right? Setting goals also creates a sense of purpose and direction, which most importantly reduces stress and anxiety and enhances overall well-being. Let me go into a little bit of my coaching with top producers. So I have Wasim, who is a top producer in the greater Montreal area. And I have Sam, who is his client care manager extraordinaire. And we're trying to give some real clarity and specifics to Sam. Because in most cases, when you see a top producer, they'll say, I'm hiring an admin. What do you mean you're hiring an admin? What's that job description? What does that mean? What it is a dump and run of the agent who's trying to sell everything on muscle and just says, well, I don't like some of this, so I'm going to dump it on somebody who's more administratively oriented than me. And it's a disaster and it doesn't work, right? So you come into a situation with Sam and you say, Sam, I'm going to show you some mind maps. I'm going to show you each stage of this business in the form of a checklisted out mind map. And I'm going to start first with what is most important for you as this supposed admin. And what that means is you have been hired by this top producer who makes it rain like crazy. And that person has delegated to you certain things that you're supposed to do to support them administratively. Well, that's actually called client care management if we put you right next to him along the assembly line, because he's the one that's creating these clients and he's trying to get them sold, negotiated under agreement. But there's some administrative client work, for example, setting up open houses, right? Onboarding the listing to begin with. There are a lot of checklisted things. So when I showed Sam and opened up a mind map of all those things in order, her eyes lit up and the reward system kicked in. She was no longer under the stress and the anxiety of being dumped on and trying to keep up. She could see that I was telling him, this is the way that it happens. And she lit up. So all of a sudden for him, because now he's happy, she's happy, and she's happy because she can see clarity. She can see specificity. So it's not just the financial goal that we set here tonight. That's the North Star. But beneath the North Star are all these other micro goals or micro processes that lead to micro or interim goals that lead to the big one. I can't get you to 31,563, 102,798. I can't get you there unless we break it down into micro processes where there are meaningful, specific targets along the way. So it's not just the North Star, but that's the one that keeps us honest. And that's the one that says, okay, are we on target? Because if not, we better check our resources. That purpose, right? Along the way, the purpose-driven business to really be systematic, that's a purpose, right? That really locks in, and it is a direction. Now, if you really want to go back to last week and you want to go to Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics or Mind Steering Systems, you'll come to realize that you will get blown off of the direction that you're trying to get to, okay? So your purpose is to get all the way up there to the North Star at the end of the year for gross commission. We'll talk about the management to the bottom line, but you want to get there. But you will get blown off course. You will get COVID, right? And it will throw off your energy for 2 weeks. And you will start to lose your pace. And you might miss some open houses. And you might miss some listing presentations because you couldn't go. That's what it means to be blown off course and lose direction. But very quickly, you will be able to rally and say, but I know that when I'm feeling better, I have to pick up right where I left off. Well, that reduces all of that stress and anxiety, and it makes me feel like I'm in control of that outcome in spite of what happened. Now, it could be other things that throw you off too, that are family events or like a vacation. God forbid we take a vacation, right? All those things are interference with direction because we're really only moving towards that target when we're actually doing and making things happen with these action steps, right? So we reduce that stress. Let that sink in with this methodology of goal setting, macro and micro goals. Next, the brain responds positively to clear and achievable goals. And then what it does, the reason why we're feeling less stress and anxiety, it releases dopamine, right? And that's a neurotransmitter that helps mood, memory, focus, etc. There are other things like, what is it? Oxytocin, I think gets released. So I'm no chemistry expert or biology expert for that matter, but I know what it means and I know what it feels to have that feeling myself when I have these clear and achievable goals. So if it's to get the next luxury listing, I can feel the dopamine, right? I'm thinking about the listing that's coming on tomorrow, 595 million. I already have 8 million above it. Like that makes the dopamine flow through, right? I never did those kind of deals, by the way, until I got strategic like this. It was $300,000, not 3.5. It was 350, not 3.5 million. So I am telling you firsthand, please hear me say this. This is real actionable stuff that I use myself. And to this day, as you can see, I'll drop little anecdotes as to what's actually happened in my business. This isn't some pontification from, some guru who doesn't do this. I do this stuff and I use this and I feel my own dopamine. And as a coach, I feel my own dopamine rush when somebody calls me. I can think of Luke calling me and go, oh my gosh, I did exactly what you said when I was talking about buyer agency. I was very clear with that person and I achieved my goal. Now I can do it with anybody. That gets everybody's dopamine flowing, right? So clear, achievable goals. Another example would be, for example, my telemarketers. As part of my resourcefulness to get me these listings, we looked very clearly at a targeted goal for them. I told Kathy, I think our goal should be that you could stimulate $20 million in a single year. She had no idea what the reference was, but it was clear, right? Again, these days I would tell her 21.2 million to make it crooked for her, right? So we set that goal. Now, Kathy has been with me 2.5 years part-time and is at 19.3 million. So we didn't part-time achieve it together in a year yet, but we've achieved an interim goal of almost this month. I think we'll hit that milestone in a part-time capacity where she's probably really putting 15, 16 hours in. Clear, achievable, measurable. That's the other thing that makes a goal really, really something that's tangible. So by breaking down larger goals into smaller and more manageable steps, there we go, the brain is better equipped to achieve them. So let's talk about that in the context of what I just said. Forget about the fact that I said I have a telemarketer. Imagine yourself prospecting on the phone, okay? Let's just start there. There's a lot of ways to prospect, none better than that. So if that was a goal for me to get with her, it's going to start with, okay, first of all, am I strategically getting the most profitable leads that could get me to the 20 million in sales fast enough? So let's just start with what's reasonable and achievable in my MLS area. If I look at downtown Boston and I take those areas, is it reasonable to shoot for a median deal, right? Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? That's sort of just the average or middle of the road performance, right? Average a little higher, median's right in the middle. So why can't I get, why can't you get, why can't we get a median price deal? So you look at that deal and all of a sudden you see this 1.197 or whatever it is in downtown Boston these days. Like, wow, that's pretty clear. How do we get it? Well, we can go talk about our expireds. Let's grab all the expireds that are median and above, right? And then what else can we get? Well, maybe we can get for sale by owners. Maybe we can get probates where somebody's passed, as long as they all meet that measurable step that I have acquired leads. That's a measurable step, by the way, right? That I just go acquire contact information of people that own a property like that, that hopefully have context to sell. That's a manageable step. And in fact, it's a critical step. You have to go find a list of people that fit this thing that you're trying to microeconomically do one at a time to get that big goal, right? So that's how it happens. And now you're starting to become resourceful. You're like, listening to him tonight, where would I get my list of expireds? I don't have any money to spend on a Vulcan 7. Well, duh, you pay the dues already to be an MLS. Pull them yourself. Yeah, but then I don't know like how to get their numbers or whatever, and I can't find them in MLS or they're the wrong ones. Okay, go over to Fiverr and find somebody who does skip tracing and let them find a whole list for $25 for a short list, right? Or go get your own ability to go on something like Fast People Search and look them up. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just rattled off a whole bunch of manageable steps that anybody can follow. And the reason we're following them is because we're thinking, I set this goal. I don't want to do twice as many transactions to get there. I'd rather take the median, divide that in, which we're going to do that math tonight, divide that in and figure out, okay, there's the number of deals. Where can I find the leads that might become the prospects, that might become the clients? You just start to become resourceful. And it's stupid simple. This isn't some complex conversation we're having about some esoteric, wild internet like process. We're just saying, I could look out the door in Osterville right here and say, how do I pull a list of everything that's assessed at $1 million and above in this small village and start to call them and make an offer, right? Until I find the ones that have context and then follow up with them. It's just not rocket science. We just don't think strategically first, right? And we panic. I'll never find them. Somebody else, oh, everybody here has been listing properties forever, right? It's all the nonsense we tell ourselves. That's why you go back to week one and say, hell no, no more. I am the profitable real estate agent who acquires listings at or above the median price, which is $1.137 million in downtown Boston. And I'm going to do X number of those so that I can achieve my North Star goal. See how it works? It starts to become a narrative that you repeat to yourself over and over and over. And again, going back to week one, your brain doesn't know the difference between dress rehearsal and actual performance. It doesn't know the difference neurologically, right? So that's why the theater of the mind, we just watched the Olympics and we watched some amazing people convince themselves that they could jump to a record height, that they could run to a record pace, swim to a record pace. That all starts in the theater of the mind. Right? You can't break the record in the water, on the track and field, or whatever you are until you see it in your mind. Why is that different from us? It's not. We have the same programmable brain. We just need to start acting as if this is our Olympics, right? So visualizing the end of a goal helps the brain to create a roadmap for achieving it and provides a sense of clarity and focus. Now, let me say this about roadmaps, okay? This is the most uncanny thing. Of course, when I first started this journey, I didn't know how I was going to do this. If you go back about 12 years ago, I made a firm decision that in spite of the training I had, I never really saw a clear systematic approach be explained to me about how I was going to, regardless of my resume, do business with people that I didn't know who owned one of these types of listings. So, but I said, I'm going to be there. So what did I do? I saw what was possible in my MLS by looking at some top producers in the luxury end of things, the number 1 through 5 in my MLS, and said, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Okay. And I looked at some of the ways that they did things. They had their offices in the right places. Here I am today, manifested that. I'm actually selling the building I built when I was in the transactional business and bought the one I'm in because it is much more about the locational perception. And I saw that was a thing. So these are the types, I'm not telling you to go out and buy a building, of course, but I'm just saying these are the types of things that my brain started to just have me do, because it was clear who I wanted to be competing with. I picked the proverbial fight with those people and then started to develop my way and kick the door down until I started to get into the business, which I am. Okay. Now we're clearly in the business of the high-end stuff. But goal setting requires the use of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and planning. He said, I know you want to puke when you hear plan, but again, I'll hold this thing up. I don't know if you can see it when I'm having the slides. I'll hold it up in the case that you can see it. This says plan, strategic plan all over it. Okay. It's the verbiage too that you begin to use as you get more strategic. It's the verbiage, right? It's the language of a manager, right? Not a tactician. Sorry, this stubborn thing doesn't want to go back up. So that prefrontal cortex really starts to get you going in planning and making a plan, even if you don't know how. Now, of course, you're here with me tonight, so I'm giving you the bone work, the bone frame, the wireframe of bone structure, wireframe. There he goes, right? COVID brain. Sorry. So the idea is that's how you start to get this plan. You look at this, right? And you ask questions. I actually have a coaching member that came out of this profitable agent plan, Roberto, who came in here and he listened to everything. He went out and he sold some properties using the wireframe and then hired me to be his coach, right? That's what you should do too. So reviewing progress towards goals helps to keep the brain engaged and motivated towards achieving them. So I am going to cheat tonight and we'll open up the kimono per se, and we'll show you what's behind the scenes with a couple of these measurement formulas that we use, because it is very critical to see progress. So you might have a batch of leads that you've decided that are median above potential. You need a unique selling proposition, which I will show you next week on what to say and what to offer these people. And you can start to see some contact moving down your assembly line. And that's what you're looking for. I mean, I have a good friend that I work with in the venture capital business, and I remember showing him the system, and he's like, wow, this is awesome. He said, I don't mean to insult you, but this is really just organized common sense. I said, bravo, thank you so much. It's all I wanted it to be, right? He said, but take me for a ride, follow a dollar. And I said, more appropriately, let's follow a contact along this, right? Let me show you the progress of a contact that goes along this thing to hopefully become, this assembly line, hopefully to become a happy past client, or fall out through the trap door to delete. We're not looking for bloated databases. We're looking for sleek systems that bring the right person through the right process to create the end result, right? You're saying, well, what about the money? The money is just a byproduct. When I go out to try to use resources like money to get leads, to convert leads, to market to those leads, it's an outflow. Then when the commission comes in at the closing table, it's an inflow. Obviously, the idea of this course is that your inflow is way bigger than your outflow, but your ultimate result is this happy past client. So it's the process that you're going through, and it's exciting to see your progress as somebody goes through and becomes that. I always say the most important deal is the first one. When you do it systematically for the first time and you get a raving fan who's like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Sorry, I freaked out a couple times, but your process was spot on. You guys rock. That's progress, right? Because if you can do it one unit at a time, you can do it many units, right? So that's the idea, is to always refine that one contact going A through Z, and that's progress, right? And that keeps your brain engaged. By the way, the reason why most realtors only sell 3 or 4 properties a year is because it's so discombobulated. It's all their animal brain can handle at a time. Maybe you can handle a couple deals at a time before you start freaking out because one person's freaking out. You forgot to get this signed. What we want to do is put it in a nice, clean funnel and show you that even if you're working the whole funnel alone in the beginning, that you know where you're at. Okay, check these boxes. Them good. Come back in this process. They're a little bit earlier. Good. So you're checklisting things, and it's keeping everything progressing constantly through this. Not, I got 2, and then you look behind you in your assembly line, and there's nothing coming because you stopped. Happens all the time. We gotta kill that, right? So celebrating small wins, by the way, along the way helps to reinforce positive behavior, leading to a more significant sense of achievement and satisfaction. I'll tell you, this is really important when I'm training our telemarketers. Really important, right? And my team has created a culture of that. My sales machine team, not some loose conglomeration of agents. All the people that help me do my own book of business in this machine-like process, they culturally support each other really well like this too. Hey, you got your first package out the door. That's awesome. Hey, you got your first follow-up. That was really promising. And it sounds like they're getting closer to an appointment. Hey, you got Danny an appointment. Hey, you got your first listing. Hey, you got your first check. Again, that progress along your pipeline and celebrating it all along the way is critical because you are going to have setbacks, right? Someone's going to pick up the phone and say, yeah, I went with somebody else. Or, yep, I'm not re-upping the listing with you because you didn't tell me about the marketplace or the training. You're going to get beaten up in this business, okay? There's no doubt about it. So always celebrating wins every week, even if you think it's uber insignificant. If you show up on a call like this, it's a big win. Not even a small one, because you spent some time working on your business, not just in it. So anything that you can find that moves the needle into a better business, right? That's a success. So goal setting can lead to the development of new habits and skills, which can lead to long-term personal and professional growth. It is amazing how habitual this becomes. And the skill set that you develop, especially over time in our coaching program, I get most excited when people really embrace the mathematical side of this, the quantitative side, which is also stupid, simple math. We analyze all properties probably similarly to the big algorithms. We take their sold price and we divide it by their assessed value, which is a value, and it is a consistent value in whatever municipality you are. And their directive is to take all the data they can possibly have their hands on, big data, throw it in, and try to come up with a value that would approximate what a ready, willing, and able buyer would pay. Unfortunately, it doesn't move that fast. So market prices move much faster, and this chases it. And I had a Wall Street background, so I know what it is to take a leading indicator of value, market value, solds, and measure it against a lagging indicator, the assessed value. And it gives you a ratio. And guess what? The top ratio, oh, this guy sold for 135% of his assessed value. Let's look at his write-up. Oh my gosh, new roof, new kitchen, new this. Oh, this one sold, this poor gal sold for 95% of her assessed value. Roof caved in, needs a new roof, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's just not rocket science as you learn these skills later on. I know that was a little high level that I dropped in there. I'm just saying over time, your habit of working on something grows your curiosity to dive in deeper to the business and figure out a little bit more of it. Not say, oh, that damn Zillow and Redfin and their algorithms, they're screwing up the business. No, they're not. They're bringing a whole quantitative aspect to a business that has tons of statistics and math, and nobody ever analyzed them until they showed up, right? So habits, skills, they become really, well, I mean, just ingrained, and you get excited about working on your business. Okay, so let's get into this on the gross commission goal, because we talked about a lot of goal settings in the intro, but we need the North Star. So the idea here in this formulaic approach, and I'll work it, I'll work one right here. So like I said, the gross commission goal, let's say that we have somebody, I'm going to go super uber small, not big. Okay. I coach plenty of top producers and everybody wants to go running there, but I want to talk about what I think would be a good, reasonable part-time job. Okay. Or actually even better than that. Let's take $31,000. So I'm going to say the average agent who's looking for a part-time business opportunity, I'll stop saying job, okay? They're looking for, I'm just going to put this on my paper, GCI, and you can do this live with me if you want. The GCI goal for that person is 31,562, right? So that would be a really nice chunk of change at the top line if somebody was putting in somewhere around 15 to 20 hours. Let's take 20 hours part-time. We'll cut the classic 40 hours in half, right? So I would like to sell homes at an average price of, and this, we're going to get real here for a second, right? I'm going to go get a real number off of my latest market update. Okay. So bear with me. Yep.
Oh.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I was going to say, since we have 5 of my guys, why don't we use a couple recent sales out of mine, since they're kind of price points that are out here.
I'll take your median price right now. That would be awesome. I'll take yours.
It's not well, do you want, I'm not talking about the median in Seattle. I was going to talk about, like, since you want to get real, some of the real sales that we've really closed in the last, because they have been lower than the median lately.
Yeah, no. I want the median. I want the median.
Okay.
The purpose of this is to get them out of that.
Let me give a median.
Yep.
Hold on. Really, it's at a moment's glance. I have all 4 July market reports right here.
Awesome.
Seattle median is, for the month of July, is 946, 641.
946. Say again.
641.
641. By the way, a wildly meaningful specific. You see all those crooked numbers? There's nothing round about that. He didn't round it up and say 950. That's a critical part of this, okay? So what we said is I'd like to sell homes at an average price of the median in my area, which is the middle. Now, God bless Seattle. That's a pretty nice median like Boston, right? The next thing is I will keep an average commission rate of, so I'm going to say my rate, my target rate. And again, this is all for you. We're not fixing commissions and all this crap that's gone on lately with, buyer agency, which is just a massive distraction, to a business model that needed a little bit of a tweak, but not such drama to it. I'm going to put 2.5%. Okay. Because I think that's a reasonably achievable goal. Sometimes up in Canada, my gosh, those guys and gals up there, they just drop their commission rate so fast to 2. I try to push them to 2.25. But I'm going to tell you that I would like to see you target. Remember, this is a target. These are goal setting, 2.5%. Okay. So now what we're going to do is going to do our math. So the next thing we're looking for is the average commission that you are targeting to be a middle of the road, 946, 641. And by the way, remember, 946, 461 is the middle sale. So all the sales that are taking place in Seattle, that's in the middle. So that means there are plenty of sales to the right of that and much higher, right? So if I take my phone and I take my 946, 641 times 0.025. I'm going to get a target commission, an average commission that I'm after of 23,666. Okay. That's my target. Now I'm looking at this transactional number that I need. You noticed I targeted money first. I didn't target the number of transactions. I want to do 50 transactions. I get into this beef stew with top producers all the time, right? And I have some good friends, and I won't mention that we all know in our coaching group. They just can't stop talking about transactions like a junkie. It's just such an insecure metric to go chase. It's just it's so non-business, right? And it's amazing to me how much harder those people that can't get off of that conversation end up working to achieve their financial goals. So now what we have is we have a GCI goal, right? Now, this is going to be ridiculous, right? Because listen to this. I got a 31,562 goal that I'm trying to get to, and I'm going to divide it by 23,666, and it's going to require me to do 1.3 deals. So I'm going to close, okay? Let this sink in, he said. COVID, right? Let it sink in. I got so excited, Grant, right? 1.3 transactions in 365 days, okay? In 365 days, I need to do 1.3 transactions at the median number to gross the 31, okay? So let's just say we double the numbers, right? Let's say, okay, I want 62, or it'll be, let's just go down that side of the ledger. So let's just go double it. So now we say, okay, well, shit, that was easy. I'd be embarrassed if I didn't do that. Now, again, I know some of you, like in Kentucky, the poor Egan's, we're trying to get them out of selling, $120,000 houses up to $500,000 and $600,000. I get that it's different everywhere, but Paul is here, and aggressively our Griffins are here. So we're going to go, okay, gang, 31,562 times 2. We're going to get 63,124. 63,124 is our new GCI goal for our business. We've got the same number, right? So we're going to go 63, 124. And again, you know what the math's going to be. It's going to be 2.6, right? So divided by 23,666, and I get 2.67 transactions in a year. I'm still under 3, but the reason why I think that's significant, okay? I think that's significant because for years, the average number of transactions done by a real estate agent has been about 3, okay? Now, NAR and all the crazy things that they do dropped it and stopped giving us, or at least the last time I looked, they dropped the average number of transactions because it was so low, and they made up a statistic called the typical agent. How do you have it? I don't even know what that means. Oh, the typical commission? No, the median price, the median, right? Average this, use real math. So the idea, though, that's stunning when you look at this math, 2.67 there. Okay, let's just say we cut the commission in half. Okay, let's do that way. Let's say that we're not in this kind of an area, right? And we've got half of this. So we'll change that math too. Let's go 946, and you're in another area, 641 divided by 2 gives us exactly, I like my crooked numbers. I'm going to pop in 473, 320, which is actually more towards the national median. I think the national median is probably still in the 3s. It went way up during this time. I still can get my 2.5, right? So the commission that I'm looking for is 473, 320, right? Times 0.025. That's going to give me an 11. So the average commission I'm looking for is 11,833. Okay. 11. And now I'm going to go up to the 63,000, our bigger financial goal. Okay. And I'm going to divide that by 11,833. And that's going to give me 5.33 transactions. So again, I hope this is a very sobering moment for everybody that this is achievable. I mean, it's extremely achievable on the top end. Now you can go messing around with the math and you can say, okay, here's my commission split. Here's what that looks like. I might have some basic expenses, and you can have a mini income statement that predicts what you'll actually walk away with pre-tax, right? So it's just not hard to do, but it's a stunningly low bar when you sit still and you do the math. Now, you might be saying, where the heck am I going to get 5 transactions? Fair enough, okay? As a segue into next week, that's what we're going to start to dig into. You are going to need to tell somebody who owns one of these median or above listings, and of course, subsequently a buyer that matches that too. You're going to need to tell them why they should do business with you above and beyond all other options, including doing nothing at all. Now, of course, down the bottom here, I could take the 5.33 and I could take the percentages. I won't, because tonight I want you focused on trying to get 5 listings over the course of the year, because as you're trying to go for those and you can do your open houses, you'll find plenty of buyers, okay? So I will leave it at that, my good friends, and show you, hopefully, that was soberingly easy to do. And yet nobody does it. Nobody really thinks through it. First, we don't talk about why that meaningful goal matters, and then to break it down based on what your actual math in your area actually is, no matter high or low. Okay, you got to do more work than somebody that's in. If we have somebody in Seattle, right, that wants to grow $63,000 before splits, etc., and they're looking at doing 2.6 deals, round it up, call it 3. You have 365 days to try to do 3 median deals at 2.5%. Come on now, right? Especially with the plan we give you. Come on now. And that's how you start to measure this. By the way, I did promise you all a little bit of a cheat sheet into the goal setting. Let me go in. Hang on one second. I have to open this and find the right place where I can show you our coaching. And by the way, all Griffin agents, if it's the first time you've seen it, this is on the Griffin Teachable site that Lauren visited with you all, and she will be getting you this. But I'm going to grab the link to it and show my screen. Share this tab instead. Yes. Okay. You all seeing a spreadsheet in front of you? Yes or no? Anybody? Bueller?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So this is the most powerfully stupid, simple thing after that big conversation that I ever did. So let's just say I came in here and we did this, right? So the idea here is that we built a spreadsheet with some simple math where we could go in here and start to just put some of these numbers in, right? So what did I say? 63, right? 63, he said. 124, okay? I want to do that in, I don't know, give me an area of Seattle, Paul. Or anybody. Give me a Seattle area.
Redwood.
Green Lake. I'm sorry, I thought I had a mic unmuted. Green Lake.
Okay.
Green Lake.
Now, I don't know what these numbers really are in Green Lake, but suffice to say, Paul, can you give me the real numbers here? Because you had that report. Just give me the report, that the numbers you had there. I'll take the mean, and then I'll take the median.
You mean the average price?
Yeah,
and
average, and then the middle.
The average price in Seattle last month was $1,151,889.
Okay. And I have the median, which is the middle sale. 9.
And those are both low for Green Lake, Finney Ridge.
Okay, good. So we'll stay good. So there you go. We have real numbers in there. I told you our goal was to be 2.50, so we'll lower that.
Yeah, put it 2.5 because that's really, you know, forget the word fix, whatever the heck.
Yeah.
It is what it is. That's what's getting paid out here at that price point, period.
Yeah, okay. And now, so you have an idea of what percentage of the market you're at. Not that this is critical for the calculations, but you've got, X number of sales that are going to take place in that, that area in the course of a year. So Paul, do you have that on the spreadsheet for this month? Like how many sales? We'll just 12X it. It's the number of solds.
What I have, what number next?
Solds, just the number of solds for that last that last measurement period, which was just last month, right? Then I'll multiply.
If that's one of your categories, yeah.
Well,
let me blow it up here.
Well, yeah. I think you
As
have.
long as I just copy your same thing.
Yeah.
So
It should be on the left-hand side, the number of solds in that period.
oh, I didn't never even look at that. Yeah, July had 799 solds.
Okay, 799. Yep. Greater Seattle, 799 times 12 is a huge number. So like it's crazy when you really think, and again, you wouldn't cover all of Seattle per se. It's more than enough. Your target area for this should really be a minimum of 800 to 1,000 sales that you're targeting to do your business. You can do it anywhere, but I'm saying when we're targeting specific attack, we're looking at something smaller like Green Lake. This is the number for all of Greater Seattle, 2 times that listing side by side, more than enough. Now, here are your crooked numbers that are calculated. If you do a mean sale at 2.5%, an average sale, which is 115 or above, you're 28,797. If you're median, you're 23,666. Now you see why the whole call about the mindset last week matters, because you have to believe, why not me? Why can't I just be middle of the road like anybody else? Now, of course, I know because you're getting some of the lower end stuff, but you have to start to mix in going to try to have conversations with people that have something greater. And I told you, Annabelle did one of these in the 950 range early on because she did an open house at my listing, which was in this high-end area. She met the seller next door. She gave the seller a seller package. She followed up, got it, sold it. She did an open house at another one, which was $1.5 million at the time. She picked up a buyer off of there, gave the whole, we'll talk about next week, the buyer package, followed up. That's under agreement for 1.7. Okay. So watch what happens when we do that. So let's just say Annabelle was out there and did her deals out there, which is similar. So she does, let's say New Seabury. That's just where I'm going to put this quick note here, New Seabury. And let's just say, this thing's here, seller, buyer. So that was a seller. But we'll go down here. And I want to tell you, it was like, oh, shoot, it's been a while. And I don't have the meaningful specific, but 925. Okay. I know she got 5%. So it was 23. Okay. 23, 125 on that deal. Now you see what just happened up here? When it was 0, this said 3. Okay. She had to do 3 transactions. So she's done 1. But what you notice is she's just a smidge below the median target. See that median target of 223? She's 541 short on that deal. Okay. That's where she's at. She's short there. Okay. So again, it's calculating. I've got to get myself the target rate. So it was, what did I just say? 925 I used. Yeah. So I need all of my math in here. So now you can see the rate was dead on. She has no commission rate. She stayed on the rate because that's one way to make money. And if you can get a higher rate, great. Especially if you get a listing and all of a sudden you start to put 3%, that changes the model to your benefit. Your target's lower and you did better, right? But here she's slightly below, but you can see on the mean, okay, on the mean, she's $5,600 short of an average sale. So now she gets mad and she says, okay, I'm going to do Osterville. It's actually Wiano. So we'll do Wiano in the area, and she's got a buyer. So she mixes in a buyer she picks up. And now I know she's making 2.5% on 1.7. Okay. And she's getting, so she's getting a gross. Now remember, obviously this house splits and all the good stuff, right? She's getting 42.5. Look what happens to the numbers. She goes into the black on the mean by $4,000 because where she was short here by 5,600, she slaughters one. This gal, by the way, was no harder to work with than anybody she's worked with, right? She slaughters it against the model, and now she's in the black, right, for the mean, and she's way above for the median. And by the way, what has also happened? She already hit the goal. 2 deals. It's over. She's not required to do another deal to hit the goal. I mean, it's just incredible, right? This is a real, by the way, this is a real scenario, not necessarily in the same year. I think, one of her deals was, again, remember, she's a part-time master's student, but like, look at this. It's crazy when you consider how quickly the math can work if your brain is working strategically. Okay, that's it for tonight. I will go to Q&A as I promised, because I'm at the hour and I like to keep these there. I will answer literally any questions at this point. And again, if you're shy or you're just visiting with me, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll look there, or you can just open up your mics. Everybody's mic is muted, so you can feel free to jump on there and just let me while I'm monkeying around with this. I still get excited about this, guys, don't I?
You sure do.
It's fun to see it when it's a strategy, isn't it? Yeah, it's just easy.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine. I have the crooked numbers and everything, and I came out of the box pretty hot, but I'm still behind. I would say I'm behind with the 4 months to go, right? September, October, November.
Yeah. Well, so for you, what that does is you just go back and check that strategy. And, for you being a top producer with a sales machine help, what's missing in your business, don't you?
Yes, I do.
What is it? Tell them so they know.
The new business generation.
Yeah, with the telemarketer, because we haven't had a good one in place in quite some time. So that's what happens if we procrastinate. If you're not going to do it, which you're not as a busy top producer, you need to go out and delegate that job to somebody who starts to, bring in that new business generation at the right number, right?
Yeah.
So,
and if I had that telemarketer 5 months ago, this number would be probably half of the gap.
There we go.
Right-hand column,
Yeah.
to gold
See what's great about this? Here you are, you and Paul, my partners in the Griffin now, right? I mean, but here we are, the three of us, and we're like, this is like educating us as we're sitting here looking at it, telling us what we need. Paul with his agents, with your own book. I mean, it's just amazing how educational this is, right?
Big time.
Hi, Alexia. Feel free to ask a question, but thank you for saying hi. Can I please have a copy of your spreadsheet? You can send me a message, okay? Send me a message. And send me that message. Where do you want to send me that message? Danny.griffin@therealtyclassroom.com. Danny.griffin@therealtyclassroom.com. Okay? For being a live attendee, we'll give you the bonus. All right, questions, or I'm going to wrap it. Go ahead.
Would I put a team members, a split of a team members on my GCI, or is that a separate tracker?
No, separate tracker.
Separate.
No.
Okay.
Have everybody do a separate one, because remember, you're driving the house business or the sales machine business, as we like to call it. That's very separate from the education of the agent, who we're trying to say, copy us, right? There's nothing hidden. Copy us. So yes.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Great call. Once again.
Okay. Any of the agents out there? Questions? Got a lot of Seattleites. Last call from the Griffins from the West Coast.
Hey, Danny,
Yep.
have we touched on the buyer side?
On the buy side for what?
And just like as a strategy in general, that would be 30% of your business, right?
Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, tonight, all I would say is it was more about the goals. And as I said, I probably said it too fast. My goal is to try to have you focus on acquiring listings at or above the median, and then running the open house, system, so that you would pick up the buyer right off the street. That's probably going to keep you elevated to the best, of your ability. So it's not really a buy side thing, but if you wanted to come to the, tomorrow, Friday's campfire call, I could talk about that for certain. But it's a loaded question you're asking me, because it's like, what do you mean the buy side? How? Yeah, there's just so many things, right? No, Alexia, Danny.Griffin@therealtyclassroom.com.